Bleeves. Everybody listen up. Let's get it. I'm trying to put money in your pocket. That crypto wallet. That bing bada bing ching ching big profit. Even when the market's sideways, I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right. 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 I'm always right.
What is going on, true believers? I hope you're having a good evening. Welcome to Trading with Bleeves. We're going to talk about our setups in this market and what we've got going on. I've got a new partner here. It's the same partner that I've had for a long period of time, but they were not sponsoring the Trading with Bleeves, and they are going to start doing it tomorrow. And that's going to be Weeks. Weeks is setting me up with a trading account, and we'll see how that goes over the next little while. We still use Margex. We still like Margex, but I feel more comfortable at this point with Weeks. I've been with Weeks for a long period of time. They've done me very good. So I reached out to them and asked them if they would match the partnership that I had with Margex, and they agreed. So we'll be using Weeks going forward for our trade setups and stuff like that. I'm still locked into, the reason that I'm waiting is because I'm still locked into some trades with Margex and I can't get out of them, or I don't want to lose in those. So before I can move the money over, I need to figure out how I'm going to make that happen. So, but make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Let's get these setups going. Let's figure out, can we make some money in this market? Now, the state of the market is bearish, despite the fact that ultimately, long-term, I have a pretty bullish outlook. I don't think that we're in bad shape. I don't think that we're in a bad position. We're just having a correction, and we've seen it all before. And by the way, if I were to give you crypto sentiment based on where we are in the markets, you wouldn't believe how accurately this is going to play out. Okay. It's been like this for 2 years now, as we've been in this Bitcoin bull market. If we're not in an altcoin bull market, we are definitely in a Bitcoin bull market. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's complicated. One of the most important things, and one of the things that I've been stressing to you without saying that you got to do. What I've been saying to you is what I'm doing, really. And this is all about accumulating Bitcoin, or at least it should be. The one asset in this that's probably not going to dissipate, that's not going to disappear, the one asset, probably Bitcoin. The other asset, in so much as there would be other assets, maybe Ethereum survives, maybe Solana survives, maybe XRP survives, maybe even Cardano, or some of these other, major altcoins might have some survival to them in the long term. But for sure, Bitcoin will be that one. The other one, for sure, again, I'm saying Ethereum, I'm saying Solana, I'm giving those some credit for it, but stable coins. We already have the Genius Act. And by the way, every time I talk about the Genius Act, I laugh, because the whole idea behind the name Genius was because it's stable coin and it's stable genius. And Donald Trump at one point, I want to say in 2017 or something like that, called himself a stable genius. So it makes me laugh every time I see that. Also, a little bit off topic here. For those of you that don't know, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. So my family, first of all, is safe, but one of my family members is one of the route controllers for UPS. He was not on the job yesterday when the UPS crash happened. He was not the controller there, but it is a somber day in Louisville. So if anybody from Louisville is watching. I'm wishing you all the best, and I hope that everybody stays safe. There are 13, I think, people that are still missing. I assume that the worst has happened, but I don't know. So, it's a little heavy-hearted when I bring that up, but I hope everybody is doing okay. So let's talk now about something less depressing than that. Let's talk about trading and what's going on the charts. So, yesterday we had a nice little recovery, but this is not a recovery that we can call a nice or dramatic recovery. All right. We are still below the 200 MA. We're still below the 50 MA. There's nothing bullish about what we're doing. What I said in posts on X is that we need 106,600 seems to me to be the spot. And that's the question I'm going to be asking you tonight. Put that in the comment section. Do you agree that 106,600 and above is a bullish confirmation? Now, the reason that I give you that, by the way, before you answer that, is let's go to Bitcoin. Let's look at where we are right now. We're looking for some bullish confirmation. 106.6 is going to be just right in this little range right here where we've had support, going back, support, going back, support, going back, resistance, going back, resistance. This has been a resistance area. This has been a long-term trend right around 106,500. So do you think that would signal a reversal if we were able to break above? Let me know in the comment section because I do think that does mean that we're going to get some sort of bullish play out happening from that point. But there's a few things that I want to put out there into the ethos so that you can see that it's not all fun and games. There is a nice trend line right there that's just going down underneath and underscored by another trend line that is continuing upward momentum. So we had a lot of different places here that we have to break out of or break above before we get back into what we would call a bullish a bull run. Let's just call it a bull run. Before we get back to that next surge that we're going to have, we do need to see a few things break. And the first thing that we're going to need to see break is at 106.6 thousand, which, by the way, we're still kind of a long way from. All right. Now, if you look at how much we gained yesterday, if we do the same thing again today, we will have gotten above 106.6. And then it is my estimation that the pump would resume. What is preventing that from happening? First of all, we're still dealing with the government shutdown. We're still dealing with the lack of a Clarity Act. We're still dealing with a lack of fundamentals in this market that we need to see start to play out. And we can't do anything until that happens. So know that as we get started. But here's what I would say to you right now. If you guys remember, and I regret that we didn't have this show yesterday because what I wanted to say to you yesterday, but I didn't have everything set up in order to do it. But it was this spot right here. If you guys remember, I told you guys back over here, this was going to be our confirmation sort of area. When we see it break into this range right here, then you know that this is going to be a strong buy. The last time we went into this range, we got this strong move, followed by a dip, followed by another break to the all-time high. This was a really good move overall. So now what are we looking at? Zoom back out. And if we look at it from this context and we say, well, this is the bottom over here, and this is where we ended up over here. As of right now, we're bullish again on this short-term sort of play out since June. So our confirmation is a higher low, slightly higher low, but a higher low. And when we get the higher low, no matter what we do, when we get that higher low, then we've got what we would call bullish confirmation, or at least we would feel a little bit more bullish. So hopefully that's going to hold. Now, in the event that doesn't hold, then we have to zoom out here and we have to find out where we're bullish. Now, even if we were to break this structure right here, which, by the way, let me point this out and kind of move this all onto the screen right here and remove everything. If you were to look at it from the same standpoint that I'm looking at right now, as long as we're continuing along that structure right there that we're on, as long as we're continuing in that path right there, we're going to stay bullish. We've still got tremendous upside. We are not breaking out. Okay. And by breaking out, I mean to the downside. We're not bearish until we break structure. We're not breaking any structure. Now, let me also say that in the event that I did this, and I kind of move back here a little bit. I mean, this goes back a long way. Okay. We are still in an amazing uptrend. In fact, if I were to do this and I were to go to the weekly over here, which is a little easier to look at right there, because it's, the structure's going to be kind of the same. Like, we've been in this for a long period of time. If I were to go, maybe alt season coming in, no, there's no chance. Look, let me be the first to tell you, there is no chance for an altcoin season until we get a Clarity Act. There's no way that institutions are going to risk running afoul of regulation, running afoul of laws. There's no chance that any of these things are going to happen. And also, again, just to give you guys the clarity, not the Clarity Act, but the clarity to understand, a lot of times when you're speculative and you're still in the wild frontier, institutions can take an opportunity, or venture capital companies can take an opportunity, or big whales can take an opportunity, and they can create a bull run, which is what we had in 2020, 2021 going into that. But we also had a heavy-handed SEC step in and attempt to destroy a lot of the innovation that has been happening in crypto. Because of that, institution is now a little bit skittish, and the financial portion of what we're talking about right now has not matched what was going on in 2020, 2021, which is we're not printing money. We're not making it easier on people. We're pro-regulation. The Trump administration has pardoned CZ Binance. They've pardoned Ross Ulbricht. They've pardoned, or they've dropped cases left and right. That's not enough to kick off that banana zone that we're looking for. The banana zone that we're looking for will only kick off when we get the Clarity Act. And that's going to be the FOMO feeling because of that. So now that brings up the question, what is going on in the federal government? So if you come over to X and you look at, let's say, Schumer Jeffries, I think we call it Schumer Jeffries or something like that. You should say breaking. Schumer and Jeffries urge action to end the U.S. government shutdown. America deserves a working government. They actually sent a letter to the Trump administration asking for a sit down so that they could then, let's go to media here. And let me see if I can find it. I don't know if it was real, by the way. I'm not sure. No, we're not seeing it. Let me try this right here. It could be a fake, by the way. I just saw it coming out today. It was this right here. House of Representatives, November 5th. Dear President Trump, we write to demand a bipartisan meeting of legislative leaders to end the GOP shutdown of the federal government and decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. Democrats stand ready to meet with you face-to-face anytime and any place. Thank you for your attention to this matters. And that's the House Democratic leader and the Senate Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. So that would tell me that and by the way, because of this, Donald Trump, I'm going to tell you right now, is furious. Why is he furious? New York City lost. New Jersey governorship lost. Virginia governorship lost. Prop 50 passed. Mississippi supermajority lost. Everything bad that could have happened to Republicans yesterday happened yesterday. So while the Republicans are saying Schumer shut down, while the Republicans are blaming the Democrats, while the Republicans are doing everything to point to the minority party, guess what? The American citizens are way too smart for that. They're way too smart for that. They saw through the grift. They saw what the problem was, And they are now making steps to change that by putting Democrats back in power. When you've given too much power to Republicans, but they don't use the power, this is what you get. What they should have done is immediately and without hesitation, they should have ended the filibuster. The filibuster at this point, by the way, has been repealed only for confirmation votes for nominees for the president and for the Supreme Court. Now, Harry Reid stopped it for the Democrats in 2013 because the Tea Party was very obstructionist in preventing nominees from going through for Obama, meaning the government couldn't function at a high level. Not that it functions at a huge high level to begin with, but you get what I'm saying. And the same thing happened with Donald Trump, because they were doing what the Democrats were doing what the Republicans were doing, and they were not confirming. So they switched to the nuclear option, and it became 51 votes. So the majority. All right. Now that leads us to where we are right now. And what they want is the filibuster to be pulled out. And that means it won't take 60 votes anymore. It would just take 51 votes. And if you can do that, then you can start to move the government along. Here's the problem with that. Once you unpack that and once you do that, there is no going back. You're not going to claw it back and just say, hey, we're going to vote for all this kind of stuff. And then when we're done, we're going to switch it back to 60. Wink, 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 wink. That won't happen. So, or if it does happen, that will be an affront to the American citizens, and Republicans will lose the midterm. And the midterm is about another year away. All right. So the Republicans would have about a year to get it all together, but they would also lose the confidence of the American people, and Democrats would end up taking 3 or 4 of those seats, and they would come into power, and they would put the filibuster back to 51. And then the Democrats would use the filibuster in the Senate to prevent anything from passing and anything from happening at all. And by the way, the things that are happening right now with the U.S. government are ICE, which is overstepping its bounds, tear gassing American citizens on American soil. Trump is sending the National Guard and they're sending state National Guards and other states' National Guards into what they call hostile cities, only Democrat-controlled cities. By the way, when I do the crime rates and when I say what is the most crime-ridden areas, matter of fact, let's do this right here. What cities have the highest, I didn't type that right, but not my problem, per capita murder rate? All right. St. Louis, they didn't send anybody in. Why? Republican governor. Birmingham, Alabama, they didn't send anybody in. Why? Republican governor. Jackson, Mississippi, they didn't send anybody in. Why? Republican governor. Okay. This is an attack on Democrat cities. And the American people are smart enough to see that. There are some people who are seeing it play out, and they like it because they're like, aha, we're showing Chicago. Aha, we're showing Los Angeles. Aha, we're showing Portland. Well, you just lost 2 governorships. Yeah, you just got Prop 50 passed, which means that California is going to gain seats in the House, and Republicans are going to lose seats in the House. And it's going to be because Republicans were starting to try to gerrymander themselves into having a lot more control. And what I mean by that is this: if you have a representative government, 60% of your constituents vote Democrat and 40% vote Republican, then you should have 60% of your delegates Republican, 40% or 60% Democrat and 40% Republican. There should be an even split. But what's happening right now in California, and we'll call it redistricting, I think it is. Yeah, California redistricting. And I'll show you on the map what they were looking to do right here. The current map is this right here, which is Prop 50. There are 43 Democrats and 9 Republicans in the House. Guess what? They're going to redraw the lines and redistrict everything so that 48 Democrats will have a spot and only 4 Republicans. And you might say to yourself, well, why is it all of this area right here is like that? Well, that's called the Arnold Schwarzenegger effect, because that was when the gerrymandering happened, and when that became the split, if you will. Now they're not going to have that split anymore. What they're doing is they're cutting up this section right here to go along with this population. Then they're taking this area right here to go along with this section of the population right there that's clearly way blue. So this is what they're doing, and it's in answer to what Republicans have been doing in introducing their efforts to gerrymander all of these districts. And for Republicans, this right here is what they're looking for, right? They want representatives in government right here. For those of you that don't understand, if you're not in America, this is just empty land with a bunch of people, okay, that represent them. South Dakota and North Dakota, these right here combined have a population of less than 1 million people, I think, or maybe 1 million people, but they have 4 senators. So everything about this government is out of whack, because the land is what they're trying to make voters out of. Okay, they're doing that, and the population centers. And by the way, when I say this, understand we'll get to that in a second, but the major power centers, which are New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, major power centers, all of those, they don't control what happens. What controls what happens is all of this empty land right here. Now, here's the problem. In the event that you gave that land away and said, that's not representative of the people anymore, you would lose rural support. You would lose suburb support, because the suburbs tend to be more conservative because they rely on farming. They rely on a more natural cultural environment versus the big city, the brick and mortar, the concrete structures and all of that kind of stuff tends to bring in more liberal people. Now, that has nothing to do with education. It's nothing to do with anything other than they're giving empty land rights in order to protect the land that's not empty but only has a few farms in it. They're trying to prevent the cities from taking those over in terms of voting, because what the cities would end up doing is they would end up voting for what's best for the big city, and then funding that would normally go into farming and stuff like that would no longer go into farming. So there is a means and a reason by which they do this, despite the fact whether you agree with it or not. That is the reason that they're doing it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. And by the way, I found this just a little while ago as we were doing it, okay? So I want you guys to see exactly, because the Republicans are fighting tooth and nail, screaming about gerrymandering. You can't do that. By the way, we're going to do that, okay? And I want you to see that before this is the problem that you have, right? The problem that you have is that they don't want to lose those seats in California. But this is the representative that you have right now. 45% of Alaska is Democrats. 45% of Alaska is Democrat, and they have 0 House seats. Arizona is 48% Democrat, and they only have 22% of the seats. Arkansas is 36% Democrat, and they have 0 seats. Florida is 44%, and they only have 28%. Idaho has 0 Democrats in the House. Iowa has 0 Democrats in the House. Indiana, which is 42% Republican, only has 22% in the House. Missouri, which is 42% Democrat, has 25% in the House. Montana, which is 42% Democrat, has 0 Democrats in the House. So this is not a Democrat thing. This is and has been and largely has maintained itself as a Republican thing, because they don't want it to be fair. They can't steal from you. They can't manipulate you. They can't take advantage of you if they don't do this. So they've already gerrymandered, and they've already done this in all kinds of different ways in all kinds of different states. So here we are, and there's the evidence of it. And by the way, go fact check it if you have any questions about it. This is the Republican cheat sheet. Okay. It says Republican cheat, but let's just call it the Republican cheat sheet. Okay. Because we are not representative of the people in America. And the problem that the Republicans have is that they feel like they should have more control. These are power grabs. This is not fairness. This is not equality. This is not the Constitution working itself out. This is not fairness and liberty for everybody. Okay, this is not that. This is the Republicans wanting power, and they're doing everything they can to ensure that their power grab continues. Okay. So, is that massive Bitcoin pump going to happen now because Trump spoke today? I don't think Trump moves the markets, Selmo, by the way, not anymore. I think that's done at this point. I don't think that we're going to see Trump moving markets the way that we have before until he does something very, very crypto specific. For him just to come out and say, the markets are great, everything's awesome, gas prices are only like 30 cents, eggs are 29 cents a dozen, things that are not true, right? He'll come out and he'll say those kind of things. And people now understand that Trump is a grifter and a liar. They understand that. And by the way, if you're a Trump supporter and you're listening to me right now, when I say that, it would be better if you were at least intellectually honest with yourself. Is Trump more truthful than Democrats? In my opinion, yes, because he just says bullshit, doesn't really care. He just says whatever comes to his mind. But that's not always true. He does manipulate you. He does lie to you. He does it constantly, not because he means to be a liar, okay? Not because he's an evil person who lies to you. But Trump is a salesman. He uses hyperbole to make things seem better, which is why he says things like bigly, or it's the most beautiful, or magnificent. It's the greatest thing that's ever lived. I know more than anybody else knows. It's not true. It's not an outright lie. It's just him trying to grease the wheels to make it seem like it's more important than it is. Okay. That's all that is. Not because he's just outright lying to you. Okay. So I do understand that. But if I'm going to be honest about it, you should at least be honest with yourself about it. Trump is not who you think he is. Okay. However, he's better for America than what the Democrats have done so far, at least in my opinion. And by the way, that is only my opinion. That is not a statement of fact. That is only my opinion. So now that we've cleared that up, let's move on and let's start looking at the Bitcoin chart one more time to see where it is that we go from here. So we went back into our box. This is the box that we set up months and months and months ago for sideways trading. When we were trading sideways for a while, this was our little zone. This was our little region. We had it on the daily chart, by the way, so that you could see it right there. And then it broke out, and then we broke above, and then we started to move, and then we came back for a test, and we didn't survive that test, and we came back a little deeper, and we didn't survive that test, but we came back to the same tops. And then we had the big dump. This is when winter mute. This is when all this stuff starts to really, really break down and starts to really, really happen off of all of this. So now what did we see? And by the way, let me show you why this is happening right now. Okay. What happened here? Winter mute came in and they absolutely annihilated crypto. And then we had a retest pump, but we didn't have new buyers stepping in because they got scared because this just happened. So that led to a little bit lower low. Then we had another test over here, again, up to the top of the range, and it didn't survive as well. And now we're breaking down. So that's the way that was playing out. Why did that happen that way? Well, we need to look no further than OM over here. What happened with OM? We had one big investor who said, well, I made a dumb choice, and he screwed up the entire ecosystem over here. But now let's zoom into this range here and see what happened. What that did was it spoiled investor confidence. Once investor confidence has been spoiled, once it's been spoiled, eventually people are seeking to exit. Now, why do you have a pump? Well, what you had was you had the absolute dump. Then you had somebody come back in and start buying it back up, saying, no, we're going to defend this price action. But then other people were like, nope, fuck that. We're selling. So they started selling. Then we got another pump because the sellers had stopped. Now, then you have, at this point, you have speculative investors coming in, trying to make a buck off of this move from 37 cents back up to 51 cents. And then they sold at the top over here, and then they left. And then you got that retest. You got the bullish retest, which failed. And then it dumped even further because now confidence is lost. Then you had this sideways trading. Then you had one more test of a breakout. Again, speculative people accumulating in this range. You get a nice little breakout, not survive the breakout. The structure is still heading downward. And then you had this attempt right here for a few months to hold on to that area. Then you broke below. Then you come over here and you had that accumulation for another retest. And then at the time of the retest, Wintermute comes in and dumps on it. So then it just continues on its way down. Now, that's what's happening right now in the entire and broader markets. The confidence of Wintermute's dump right there has shattered some of the people. And why are they still sitting on the sidelines? Why are they not buying the dip? Why are they not moving back in? Well, a lot of people are buying the dip. A lot of people are moving back in. A lot of people that don't think that that's the case should step back and examine the market. And when you do that, what you find is we are still 20% higher. Well, actually, we're 15% now, but we are still 20% higher than the top of the previous market. The top of the previous market, by the way, is all the way down right there. So we're still in pretty good shape overall. Like, we haven't even had our massive breakout, or at least what I think is going to be a massive breakout, with the money coming back into the market. And when we look at this, it gets even more bullish when you look at it from a Bitcoin standpoint, because the Bitcoin standpoint is, we're sitting at 69, 70,000. We're at $104,000 right now, $103,000 right now. We are not even close. At best, you could say, in the event that the market is done, if the market is cooked, I think there is a possibility, by the way, I don't want to underscore this, okay? There is a possibility that this is all we were going to get. Now, I'm going to tell you a few reasons why I don't think that is the case, and I'm going to start with this. First of all, there's nothing bearish about what's going on, okay? There's nothing bearish about the trend that we're going on. What we're looking at, and what we should be looking at, is what was happening over here. And you saw one spike, two spike, red spike, blue spike, 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 and we just continued up. And then you got this breakdown right here. By the way, this breakdown was a black swan event. Remember what happened here. And let me take you back here. And that was, this right here was not Wintermute, but it was China banning crypto. At the same time China was banning crypto, that's when all the institutions dumped. Now, why did the institutions dump? Was this China dumping? Well, not really. This was institutions dumping because that's the way they manipulate you. And why was it happening? Because they had news that they could use that would dump the markets. Well, what happened? The markets got dumped. We went into the summer months, and then the reversal happened. And then all of a sudden, we had the massive breakout, and we had another new high because there was no information. There was nothing out there that was actually bearish. Okay, there's nothing out there that was actually bearish. Now, take us back to where we are right now. This thing is still happening in the same fashion. And whoops, boom, 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 dum, dum, dum. What we got right now is, if there's going to be a dump, the dump is going to be off of something crazy, by the way. Like Wintermute selling off, the biggest sell-off in single day in the history of crypto, okay? The biggest thing is what happened there. So now, how does that affect us going forward? Well, what we have is we have the fallout from the sell-off, which is playing out right now. Now we're probably going to trend a little bit sideways if we quickly recover. By the way, Donald Trump would be motivated to quickly recover us, and it is possible that we get a quick recovery. But again, if we do that, it's going to have to be over 106.6 right there. We're going to have to get above that. We're going to have to break out. Now, if that happens, do you think Dev, by the way, we got a question here from Hammerside, not sure if it's already discussed. Do you think Dev can drop to 25 cents or lower again? Looking to buy 15K worth of Dev. I I think there is a possibility as long as the government stays shut down. And by the way, I am reading some stuff about the government, and it looks like Mike Johnson, the Senate lead, is wanting to keep the government shut down. Or John Thune, I guess, is the Senate lead, but Mike Johnson is in the House. It looks like they want to keep the government shut down. And also, I started to look at the reasons behind it. Okay, there is a young lady who will join the 218 House members who want the Epstein file released and turned into 219, which would give them the majority, and that would require the mandatory release of the Epstein files. And Trump is trying hard to prevent that from coming out. Not because he's in it. We know that he's in the Epstein file. We know that his name is in there, but that doesn't mean that he did anything, okay? That just means that he's in Jeffrey Epstein's black book. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean that Alan Dershowitz did anything, just means that he's in the black book and he's in the flight logs. Trump's in the flight logs twice. Elon Musk is in the flight logs a couple of times. They're all in the flight logs. Those flight logs didn't go to, I don't know what that island was called, Lolita Island, whatever it was. They flew with Epstein because that's what he did. He was a philanthropist who did a whole bunch of traveling, and he took famous people everywhere. That was part of his grift, if you will. So Trump's going to be in the list, and people are going to dunk on him because of it. And there's going to be a lot of good people. By the way, Trump is a big boy. He can take care of himself. He doesn't need us one way or another talking about it, not talking about it. He doesn't care. Not going to matter to him at all that he's on the list. But there are a lot of people that are on the list who are probably innocent bystanders. There's a lot of Tom Hanks out there who are innocent bystanders. There are a lot of people, again, maybe Alan Dershowitz, just innocent people who were not caught up in some kind of seedy sort of affairs, okay, that are going to be named as associates of Jeffrey Epstein. So those kind of things right there are going to cause problems that Donald Trump doesn't want to have to deal with. So they are preventing the release of this stuff right now. And Mike Johnson will not confirm this lady because this lady is immediately going to do it. And what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go back to Senate Republicans and get one of those Senate Republicans, or like six Senate Republicans they're going to need to flip to not release the file. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is not the one. She is going to release those files, and so is Lauren Boebert. There are quite a few people out here who are Republicans who are like, no matter what you say, it's not cool. Even if Donald Trump doesn't want it at this point, they're going to side with releasing the documents. And Mike Johnson will have no choice. So right now, keep the government closed. I mean, that's really how it's playing out right now. Republicans, remember, this is a shutdown, and it was created by Democrats refusing to vote because the Democrats want they want Obamacare to be protected, basically is what they want. Now, Democrats are framing it as they just want to allow illegals to have free health care. That's not true. The American people knew that, which is why the Republicans lost New Jersey, lost Virginia, Prop 50 passed. They lost the supermajority in Mississippi. Americans are smart enough to see through the BS. And they're seeing through BS, and there is BS coming out of the White House right now, and it's not working. It's only reinforcing the people who are in that cult of personality. It's only reinforcing those people. It's not creating new people. You created new people when Democrats decided to just throw up an unelected person in Kamala Harris, and that caused people to say, you know what? I don't like what I'm seeing right now from the Democratic Party, and vote Republican. And there's people like me who just, we're single issue guys. I wanted crypto. Like I'm about crypto. So Donald Trump's better for crypto. So, all of those things worked to the advantage, but that advantage is over now. It's done. So now they actually have to govern, and they are showing that they are failures at governing thus far. And by the way, governing doesn't mean just railroading people and doing whatever it is that you want to do. Governing means that you have to come up with compromises in order to get votes. What are Republicans doing right now? Refusing to compromise. What do they want to compromise on? Nothing. What do they want Democrats to do? Compromise on everything. Why? Because they have the power. They're in the leadership. They control everything. So again, when they say that this is the Democrat shutdown, that's not true. Go with the nuclear option or negotiate. That's how it's done. It's how it's always been done, how it always will be done in the future. I mean, all you have to do is negotiate and come to the table. Now, if it's a question of money, I mean, I understand. I don't think that the government should be there are a lot of things that I think the government should be pulling back and scaling back on. But let me also say this. While the government is scaling back on little things, guess what they're spending more on? Defense spending. Guess what we're doing? We're bombing the shit out of people in the water. We're saying that we're saying that every one of them is a drug dealer. And by the way, the war on drug, whatever. I'm not saying that those people are innocent or guilty or anything they're about. I'm saying that I would trust that the government knows enough about who these people are on these boats that when they're bombing these boats and stuff like that and they're blowing them up, I think they're doing, again, the right thing. I don't think this is the wrong thing. But what it looks like is Trump is sending ICE agents into Democrat-controlled cities, and now he's blowing up foreigners in the open waters, saying that they're all drug dealers. You don't know who is and who is not. Again, I assume that they're right, but the American people are the ones that decide, and they've decided against it. So, here we are. Now, that means, how do we get the government reopened? Honda Game asked the question, hey, you think this Thanksgiving and Christmas, they just crash the markets? I have a feeling we got to wait till 2026 for the bull market. We've been watching a bull market play out since January of 2023 if you're holding Bitcoin. Altcoin season, we're going to get a breakout for altcoin seasons, in my opinion, and I'm speculating at this point, February of 2026. Well, January of 2026 most likely is going to be that time. Remember, we do have November, which is historically the best month for cryptocurrency. So I would venture to say we'll probably see some recovery this month. We might still see some downward momentum towards the middle of December or earlier, or even or somewhere around Christmas. We might see just a massive dip, a massive dump. We might see that happen. Then January, what happens every January? Let's scroll back out and let's look at what happens in January, because January tends to be a really good time. Going back over here, January right here, when we go into January, that's right here on the 1st, right? This is January, day before we're dipping, right? And then what happens? Bam, we run up. Now we dump super hard, and then boom, we absolutely break out when Trump goes into the White House, right? Now, that's Trump going into the White House. What happened the year before? Well, we go down to January of 2024, and what happened? Oh, yeah, we went absolutely fucking nanners to all-time highs. What happened the year before that? Going into from December 31st, which I'm on right now, to January, boom, 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 boom. We went from, look at this right here. We went from Bitcoin was at 16,000 to, by the end of the month, it was at 24,000, which was almost a 50% run for Bitcoin in a month. So just let that sink in. That's what we're talking about. January, historically a great month. Now, over here, you had a dump through November. This was FTX, by the way. This was when FTX collapsed. So let's take that out of the equation and let's go to the rest of November's, and we look at November's. November's tend to be really, really nice months. So then we have sideways trading. We have a little bit of dump, stuff like that. So I think that, it's going to start in January. It's going to go into February. People are going to get their tax money. And all of a sudden, all the news, everything's going to be positive for crypto, and we're going to see a massive run. Okay. And then that's going to be it. In my opinion, we're done. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin's done, by the way. What I think is going to happen, and this is going to be my estimation. Okay. My estimation is we're going to have a huge run. We're going to get the big altcoin season that we've all been waiting for. We're going to have the Clarity Act. We're going to have rate cuts. We're going to have quantitative easing. We're going to have all the pieces in place that we need to have in place. And then Bitcoin will probably decouple from the rest of crypto. And we're going to see, again, we've seen this playing out, by the way. We've seen it. You look at the total crypto chart over here, and you see that we're up here in the stratosphere of new all-time highs. Okay. We've got new all-time highs. We're doing fine. According to the total market cap of crypto, we're fucking awesome. Total DeFi, we look like shit. Here's total DeFi. We haven't even come close to where we were the last time. The last time we were at 200 billion market cap We have been no higher than 155 billion market cap in this entire run up. Now, you can look at it and you can say, well, yeah, but we were down here at 34 billion. So from that context, we're better off. But again, we haven't broken out, and DeFi probably goes to a 500 billion market cap in this last run. I want to show you the magnitude of the run that I'm talking about. All of the stuff that we probably hold in our wallets, we're sitting right here at, where are we at right now? $98 billion in market cap is going to go up 4 or 5x. Everything in this market is going to start to fly. All right. That's what I'm saying. So we just haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it actually break out. Now you take Bitcoin and you take Ethereum out of the mix, and now you come over here and you look at it, and we're no better than we were. This is 2025, right? Yeah. So we're 2025. You come over here and we're just barely better than we were before. So again, this is the strength of Bitcoin coming into play. If you remove Bitcoin, guess what? We don't look nearly as strong. When you remove Ethereum, we look stronger. So other things other than Ethereum have taken off. But what if Ethereum takes off? If Ethereum takes off, which it will, because staking will be coming, and we just haven't had the announcement yet. But when staking comes, then it leads to the kickoff of all of this DeFi that we have not had a chance to absolutely break out on is going to start breaking out. And what's going to happen? Mergers and acquisitions. Wall Street is coming for crypto. They're coming to take over. They're not coming to join us. They're coming to take over. And what does that mean? Well, boom, 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 right here. So that means that something like, let's say Tron. That means that somebody's going to maybe look at Justin Sun and say, how much would it cost to take Tron? Right. And if they won't play games, if they won't bite, then we're going to say, what technology does Tron have? They don't have any technology, by the way. They don't have any tech there that you got to have. Do you know who has tech that you have to have? After Bitcoin and the SHA-256 algorithm, which, by the way, a lot of different stuff has in this market, a lot of different websites have. That's not special. Now you have to find out, where do we have tech that's good? Right here, Aave. Aave is one that has tech that will be game-changing, life-altering. That is a lending platform, and they recreated the way lending is done. So Aave, somebody's going to come in and they're going to want to buy Aave, and they're going to want to expand it past Polkadot and Ethereum and all these different platforms that they're currently on. They're going to want to centralize some of this. What else? BitTensor is still running pretty good, along with ICP, which ran up 90% in the last 7 days. So what's going on with those? Well, that's AI. AI is being priced in. Internet computers at 3.1 billion market cap. BitTensor's at 4 billion market cap. And AI is going to start breaking out. Remember, AI right now is in a bubble in the stock market. Might not last much longer. It may not. But if it does last a little bit longer and the speculative portions hold up very well, then BitTensor and ICP are going to go so much higher. Now, the other thing is, what about OKX? What about Binance? Binance is too big to get bought, I think, or merge. I think they would be the ones that would be in charge. They would be doing the merge, something like that. I don't know what Mutum is. I don't know what that is. But OKX might get bought out by somebody like Binance or somebody like that. Okay. Kraken might get bought out by somebody. You have to start looking around. Polygon, previously Matic. What do you do with Polygon? Most likely Polygon ends up merging into Ethereum. The purpose behind some of the purposes behind some of these blockchains, these layer twos, were to enhance your experience on Ethereum, but Ethereum is doing that themselves. Remember, you're settling your transactions on Ethereum right now for pennies on the dollar, when before it was dollars on the dollars, and even up to $100 or $200 in that last bull run. So that's not happening anymore. So, you just have to look around for that kind of stuff. And Eric Stringer asked the question, will API do well? Absolutely. And why will it do well? Because the link between traditional finance, and Web3 is the link. Chainlink. What is API 3? API 3 is a much better version of Chainlink. So Chainlink can't handle everything. So there has to be other places that can bridge your Web 2 data into Web 3. API 3 is better than Chainlink. Again, this does come down to marketing. I'm not saying that API 3 is going to be a better marketing agent or it's going to be better than Chainlink, but it is going to catch up to Chainlink in terms of market cap because it provides a better function for people than Chainlink does. So you do have to consider that. And you know, again, it might be an insurmountable lead, but Chainlink probably runs up to 40 or 50 billion market cap when this market takes off. When that happens, API 3 as a viable competitor will come along with it. And I suspect that API 3 ends up going into the 5 to 10 to 20 billion market cap. It's just very simple. It's the mathematics of it. So all these little pieces, you're going to see people coming in, venture capital companies coming in. They're going to find the things that do things that they want done, and they're going to start acquiring these things, and then they're going to start folding them into their own stuff. You're going to see like Sonic Chain, and you're going to see, Sonium. You're going to see, different things out here. They're going to start to buy other blockchains and stuff like that. I'm not even sure Dev is going to continue as Dev. I'm not sure that somebody's not going to come out here, because just to give you guys some background here, there are some major players out here who are trying to and have tried to buy Dev's technology. Okay. So even though we haven't seen it break out, even though we haven't seen the run that I predict we're going to have, where Dev runs into that $5 billion range, which right now is basically Shiba Inu at number 23 in market cap and DAI at 5 billion market cap. I think it's going to run into that range. It's going to be it's going to be better than Toncoin. It's going to be better than Kronos. It's going to be better than Polkadot. So 5 billion market cap, maybe 10 billion market cap, something like that is going to happen. That's going to happen. So I think at this point, what we should be looking at beyond that is who comes in, swoops in, and starts to buy that technology. Coinbase, Binance. You know what I'm saying? Like, because not only would you be buying Dev, but you would be buying your partnership with NASDAQ. Maybe NASDAQ has a company that's going to reach in there and do that. You know what I mean? So, guys, I'm telling you, Dev is going to be a special project. Again, if you have any questions about what I'm saying about Dev, here's what I would challenge you to do. Go look up patents. Go find all the names like DevStream. Go find all the Dev stuff and start going to patent searches and start looking at what they've patented. And then ask yourself why people are trying to buy those patents. It's because zero-time settlements, fraud and security protection that you don't have currently in crypto are going to be standardized. And Dev is the leader of that standardization, and then they will be able to protect their own IPs and their own patents, and you're not going to be able to use that. Anybody who does is going to get sued. So it's going to be easier for people to use the Dev platform, especially when you have the muscle of a major traditional finance partner behind you. So again, it's my opinion about what's happening and what's going to happen. So thoughts on Crow and their Trump partnership, good for the long run? Yeah, listen, I think that Trump meme coin is still going to be the #1 meme coin in all of crypto. I still think it's going to go to 100 billion market cap. I haven't changed my thesis on that at all. I'm not a big fan of crypto.com because I don't think that Chris Marzek's done a very good job at all of keeping us in the public lexicon in the United States. It was nice at one point. Remember, we had Tom Brady commercials and we had all that kind of stuff. And now they've just been kind of muted. Here's the thing. At some point soon, when we have the Clarity Act, when we have everything done, again, I think Crow is a sleeping giant when it comes down to it. But the thing to remember about Crow is no longer crypto.com. Crow is simply Kronos, the blockchain. Crypto.com runs on the Kronos chain, but they've gone out of their way to make sure there's a separation or the appearance of a separation between the two. And I don't think that bodes very well for the Crow chain. Now, because it's in Atom, it runs pretty fast, and there's a lot of stuff in the Atom ecosystem. Cosmos, I guess you would call it at this point. But Kronos, as one of the big ones in the Cosmos ecosystem, I think it stands to gain tremendously, just like Terra Luna Classic is part of Cosmos. So there are a few out there that I think will have big runs. There are a few out there that have potential. Crow is one of them. And it does have some great opportunity, and it will still be considered part of crypto.com. But prepare to not see $1. Just prepare. I don't know that you will or will not. There might be a partnership with Trump that comes along that matters even more. But listen, the pump comes from the partnership, right? So the partnership happened. It pumped a little bit. Now it's not pumping anymore. It's actually back down. Crow is, by the way, a little bit higher than it was before, but not by much. Give me 1 second here to find this, because this was, when I was looking at this, I was like, God damn. Here we go. Yeah, Crow is back down to where it was before. So, like, if you didn't take your money when it hit 48 cents, by the way, if you took your money on the pump instead of getting greedy, I'm not. And by the way, I'm not blaming anybody who got greedy. We all get greedy. I'm still holding my bag of Dev. I should have sold it at $1.80, and then I could have accumulated a whole bunch more, but I didn't do it either. So again, I'm saying this, me and you. If you didn't sell up here, then you had the chance. You had the chance. And look, if you had $1,000 down here at 10 cents. And it went to 4,000, and you didn't sell, and you didn't take your $4,000 and not spend your $4,000, just waited for it to come back down just in case it came back down, and then accumulated even in this range right here, you would still be so much better off, and you would still have so much more link than you had, or Crow, than you had before. Like, it's not rocket science here. It's a matter of you protecting yourself and not getting greedy and not looking for that $1 billion run up. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it comes down to, is if you do a good job of managing your finances and doing for yourself versus doing for other people, then guess what? Then you get a great opportunity, and you just, if you didn't, sorry. Hey, we got a legend in the house. Brian, what's going on, man? Don't sleep on Look. All right. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, go look at, let's see what Look looks like. Let's see what it looked like. Oh, look at this. So it's up 50 million market cap, 1.5 million in liquidity, launched a couple months ago, building higher floor. By the way, guys, look at this shit right here. Like, this thing is looking like it's starting to build higher floors every step of the way. After the initial run right there, 48 million is a lot, by the way, in terms of market cap. 16 cents was the last run up, which was about a 3x, which took us through November through the 1st during the dip here. It got wiped out. Look at this. We got kind of washed out on this. So let's take a quick Fibonacci look and see what we think is going to happen here and see how it's playing out. So we had our pivot was right here. Our top was right here. We had a nice run up. It came back down. Okay. So first of all, I think the money got made really, really good on this right now. If I'm looking at a space right now for a breakout, my breakout's going to be to the 382. If it breaks out, it's going to have a lot of struggle in this range, and certainly in this range right now. But what do I tell you that happens? It goes up here, comes down here. It went too low right here to go back to the 236. So let's wipe that out, and let's say that it's going to go here. Now that it's back down almost in its original zone. The play is going to be the 0.5. The play is going to be the 0.38, and then it's going to come back down. Now, the question is, will it sit at the 786 off of that last impulse move? If it does that, I would sell into it at the 382, which is about 11 cents. Then I would wait for an accumulation opportunity back down here at about 6.5, 7 cents. Then I would look for a play breaking out and actually going. Okay. So, and that would be optimal. That would be an optimal solution. But as Brian is saying right now, it's actually a really good entry position, especially if you zoom out here a little bit and without this right here, and we look at where we are right now. This is your accumulation right there. Now you dunked below, then you dunked a little bit below. Now you're dunking. When you come back up, you're dunking back down, and you've got a higher low. That means that you're probably in a bullish pattern right now on Look. So I would be looking See what I did there? I would be looking for Look to have a nice little breakout and getting you right into that range. And by the way, here's what I would do. I would take myself into this range right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to buy some as soon as we get done in just a second here. But I'm going to look for it to do a nice little 2 or 3x up into this range right here. And then I'm dumping entirely. And then I'm going to take a shot on accumulating a little bit more back down here, looking for a touch back into this range one more time after the breakout, because guess what? It's done it over and over and over again. So look for that opportunity. When you see that opportunity, don't get greedy. Take your profit. And by the way, if you buy 5,000 tokens, if you just buy 5,000 tokens right here, it's probably $250. Buy 5,000 tokens. If it goes up from 250 to 500, sell all 5,000 tokens. Take all of your money and let it come back down, and then buy it again at the same price with $500 instead of 250, and now you'll have 10,000. When it runs up another time, if it does run up another time, easy money, okay? So, Timsky says 75 cents on Crow, I think, maybe even 50. It'll go above 50. It'll probably get close to $1. Again, unless there's something very, very special that they do at the right time, it's going to be a speculative asset. And I don't see any reason for people to get excited about crypto.com until Chris says, hey, we're coming back to America. That's the important part. And I think everybody's waiting for the Clarity Act. So again, you'll see a lot of dominoes falling when that happens. Well, that's it, guys. That's the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I got into a rant a little bit here. I didn't give you enough trade setups. I'll work on that. For the meantime, look, Bitcoin, when it gets over 106,600, that's when we're going to be looking for a massive move. Also, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to point this out. I'm going to show it to you real quick. Where am I? Rot here. Rot her. Let me, son of a bitch. God damn it. Now I got to find it. I have my own chat again, just so you guys know. Where the fuck am I? It's August. Oh my God, I'm way too far back. All right, so give me 1 second here. I have my own chat that's been developed. And it's right here. All right. What I've got here is the Bleeves Weeks Elite bot. This is a trading bot for you guys to use. I'm going to give you the link for it maybe tomorrow. Might take until Friday for me to get everything set up. But once I get it set up, then you will be able to sign up. You'll be able to come in here, put your user ID into the chat, and then it will give you a link over here to my personal chat group. Okay. I'm already in there, so I can't go in there a second time. But you'll be able to go in there and you'll be able to get signals all day long on what's going on in crypto. So, we're only a couple days away from that becoming a reality. For finally, I don't have a Telegram. I keep putting off creating my own Telegram. Now we're going to have a Telegram. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's not financial advice. I'm always right. I will see you guys in the morning for breakfast with Bleeves on the Bleeves Crypto Show. Yeah.
I'm looking for the good life, good life. Sitting